Here we go. You are all live.
Hello, what's up, cuties? That refers to both chat and you guys.
My green screen wants to take my hair out today.
Yeah, it really
yesterday.
Huh. It's doing what it used to do to me as Nico, and just be like, "No, you don't exist."
Didn't do it yesterday. He's doing it today, though. There goes my head.
It's gone, but you have such a lovely head. Also, I haven't seen your new hair. It's so good.
Yeah,
it's very good. I love it,
which I think is why it's taking it out.
Maybe it's like, I think this might be green. Who knows? I can't tell.
Yeah, right? It's getting closer and closer to the background.
Green screen can never tell for sure. It's like parts of my hair sometimes vanish.
Yeah,
this is not green. This is violently purple.
I used to have bright green hair. I'm like, oh, I could never be on a green screen with this hair.
Oh no.
The temptation to go back to it is real because going to see Beetlejuice soon. But anyways, sorry. You are
Krista.
Oh, that looks so good.
Yes, for the makeup panel. Oh, I did. I'm just gonna throw a little tag on to last one.
Do it.
If you are a person that has questions about makeup, feel free to DM me or find my little room in the Discord. You can come find me there and ask me questions, and I'm happy to assist in any way that I can.
Little makeup goblin room.
My little makeup goblin. It is my consortium of chaos or something like that.
Nice.
I love that. So I guess this is the voice acting panel. Hi, I'll kind of introduce myself for those. I'm not around a whole lot much, which is a shame. My schedule's kind of bonkers right now, which is a good thing. It's a good thing in this line of work, but so I'm Hayden Daviau. I'm a professional voiceover actor. You might know me as Priestess in Goblin Slayer. I'm Koenji in the Helpful Fox Senko-san. I'm this one. I play Hanpen, as well as in Love Live Nijikisaki High School Idol Club, and a bunch of other stuff. Go look at my IMDb. I don't have it memorized. There's a lot of stuff where people are like, oh, you did that. I guess I'm obligated to say I'm Kiana and Honey Pop because that's always one that freaks people out, and I love it. If you did the fourth date, let me know. You're welcome. Anyways.
That's the first one I got.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I miss you guys too. So pretty much I have no voice acting things for you guys to do planned, but I was going to give sort of a general overview of, if you're interested, here's a few ways you can get started. But also, since we're a D&D group, doing VO or just acting in general for D&D, it's a lot of the same tools. It's basically my friend Alejandra put it really good the other day when we were talking about it, because I was saying, it's oh, I'm nervous to do prelay animation. I don't know where I would start there. And she's like, well, you play D&D, right? And you have these fleshed out characters that you're acting as every week. It's yeah. She's like, you're doing prelay, just improv prelay. So you're
prelay
good.
For those of us not in the business.
Yes. So prelay is basically, think Teen Titans or Fairly Odd Parents, things like that, where they've laid down the voiceover before it gets animated. So the animators animate to your voice versus dubbing, what we do at Crunchyroll, where it's already been animated in Japan, and then they just they send the materials to us, we adapt the scripts, and then we dub it. So
right, so someone's already given you that bit of a voice, so it's something to work off of instead of creating the whole character yourself.
Yeah, and it's still the same basis in acting. You're creating the character. It's just the story's already been told. You're not, going along. You're not creating the voice for the animators to animate to. So that's kind of the difference. Let me hit my coffee. So that's a bit the difference in that. So when she told me, it's oh, improv is just prelay without the script, or D&D acting is just prelay without the script, I'm like, oh, that's a very astute way to put that. So something big tip for before D&D games, even though you're not hopping in a booth or anything like that, you're still using your voice for hours on end. And a lot of us want to do wacky voices or even just speaking in your normal voice. Warm-ups are so important. A lot of people in my life don't do warm-ups, just even to hop into the booth. And vocal health is incredibly important. So you don't have to do like your scales or anything from choir. I do those because I have a background in like musical theater. I recommend even just doing like a trill, like a do that like for a couple minutes. Do a bunch of tongue twisters like Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, unique New York, unique New York, unique New York, and overly use your mouth. You want to over enunciate everything because that starts warming up all the muscles in here, all of your jaw muscles. And yawning.
I'm just now thinking about it and I can feel my mouth clenched and I'm like, why is my jaw tight? It shouldn't be.
That is something
right?
Yeah.
I want you right now to think about where your tongue is in your mouth and let it fall. And I was like, it's so weird. Be aware of your mouth. And there's so much tension that we hold in our jaws. And oftentimes I will find myself, I'm pushing my tongue into the roof of my mouth. And I do that when I get tense. It's your whole jaw tenses up. So I want you to think about where your tongue is in your mouth and let it just relax to the bottom of your mouth.
All right,
and
everyone,
feel
be hyper aware of the tongue.
Oh,
just like
yeah.
Very
I just feel
strange.
it opens up your cords. And another way to it's good for accessing, I think it's your soft palate, and it can also help you do higher voices, but also just opens up all of this good instrument is yawning. Just and let your tongue
feeling it.
Because I said yawn.
I also didn't fall asleep till 1 a.m.
I didn't go to bed till
Game
3 because I'm good at life. I'm doing it.
high 5.
Yeah, go team.
So warm-ups are so freaking important. And I do minimum 10 minutes of warm-ups before any stream, before any game, before any session. I'm always trying to warm up because especially for dungeon masters who are having to go above and beyond a lot of the time, vocal warm-ups are beyond important. And you don't want to come out of it. This is really bad for my voice, but you don't want to come out of a game sounding like this and be like, I don't think I can run tomorrow, guys. Because blah, 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 blah. You don't want to come out of a game sounding like that. And that's why we do warm-ups. That's why we stay hydrated. That's why the Hydrate Redeem exists.
Yes.
Be better than me. I'm a terrible example when it comes to hydration. I talk a big game. I'm really bad at it. I have been going into sessions with a 20-ounce black coffee since 2016, and I'm terrible. I know this. I'm aware of my bad habit, and I tell you it's a bad habit, so then you don't follow suit. But I also have a giant water bottle, which I'm going to force myself to take a drink from right now.
Oh, I left mine in the other room. Dang it.
Yeah, I think I left mine in the other room as well. It's normally
The
on my
next one.
desk.
The next one.
I
And
have
we
tea though.
Yeah, tea is good. Black teas and green teas will dry out your throat. So that's something to be aware of. Great teas are like throat coat tea. I have a tea that I found at Ralph's here because I live in California. I'm not Canadian anymore. It's called Bronchial Wellness, and I love that if I'm gonna have I know it's gonna be a long game or a yelly session, because it just coats all of this. Something great if you're feeling a little scratchy, or that you're I don't know if I'm gonna make it through this whole thing. Hot tea, throat coat, and a spoonful of honey. And if you can get your hands on it, I know you can buy it on Amazon. I know there's some health food stores you can get it at. I think it's Ninjam. It's a Chinese cough syrup.
Yeah.
Hi, Cat. Hello. Please get up. Hello, cat butt. I love it. I love it here. We're live.
It's all part of
There
the
was
stream.
Wonka had a question
Yeah.
about like what kind of vocal warm-ups you suggested. So you said
Mhm.
doing the like trilling,
Yeah.
doing some tongue twisters, kind of whatever types you have.
Yeah, another one that I love. This is from high school theater, and I've just kept it. It's many, 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 many morons, many, 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 many morons. And that was my theater teacher. She was a treat. Anna, I love you.
Love it.
And we would just go all the way down the scale. And then one that we did in choir, which I still use. Go ahead, Amy.
Sorry, just thinking of vocal warm-ups. There's one that my high school choir teacher used to do where it was like, oh god, I'm gonna totally goof it up because it's been so long. It's like, I have a very nice bottom note.
Note. Yes.
Yeah, and then you get the
I
note
love
at the
that.
end, but it's like you
That's-
hold the
but, like,
M to get the vibrations.
Yeah.
And there's
That's
one-
actually really good because the and v is really good. That's funny. I might steal that.
yeah, very good. And one other
Yeah.
quick one is
Yeah.
about the trills. So our choir director was friends with another choir director in Cuba, and she came over one time, and she was just like, "All right, so you have your little horse, and then your big horse." And now I can't trill without laughing hysterically. How do I fix this?
I can't help you there. Just don't think about a horse, I guess, and don't do this when you're
Yeah, don't
trilling.
shake your head when you do it. Do this.
I have a friend. I think it's Brayden. She can't trill unless she like does this. Like she has to like squish her face. So trills are very good. One, it's you can use a straw. I don't have a straw, but you go like this with your fingers, like you pinch it, and then you press it against your face, and then you go.
We're pretending to play a tiny kazoo.
Yeah, basically. That's probably the best way to put it is tiny kazoo. I don't
Amazing.
remember who it was. They're like, we need to get you a kazoo, Hayden. I'm like, don't do that to my husband.
Oh.
Yeah, I find I can never remember
Dear.
like the various warm-ups when I'm doing stuff, so I tend to have a few songs that work for me, like especially if they're in a higher tenor
Mhm.
range, so a male voice, because that encourages me into my deeper voice,
Yes.
which I help stretch out everything from going down low instead of going up high, because I tend to sit up in my voice a lot more. But when I get tired, I start sitting down and I go down like this, and then that gets really tired really quickly.
Yes. Something that's really good is if you know you're going to be using a high voice that day, focus on warming up you want to warm up your whole instrument and everything. But if you know you're going to be doing a higher voice, warming up your lower register will give you more foundation to lift up that lower voice because your whole instrument is accessed.
Mhm.
So that's why doing the is really good for your voice.
I remember that
Um,
one.
Yeah. And breathing because you talked about using like higher voices and you start sitting down lower. Breathing exercises, I've talked about this before. Breathing exercises are a great way to get into different parts of your register for like voiceover. I don't use it much for singing. Hidden Daviau on Spotify, go check me out. Anyway, shameless plug. But if I'm gonna be voicing, I'll do it. But heckin', something that I like to do if I'm gonna be voicing like a lower voice character or little boys, I play a lot of kids. So I take like a deep breath in just to and then I'm like, okay, I'm here. Just and it's just breathing into lower parts of my voice and just letting it kind of sit there. And then it gets even lower, and then you can play even, and it doesn't feel, because you're just naturally breathing into that part. You're not forcing your register there. So for you, Christine, kind of what you're saying is like it gets really tired. I would recommend breathing into it, because then you're naturally allowing your body to get there and you're not forcing it. Because, you know, when you force it, your chords are going to be doing this. And that's really bad. You want them to just kind of be flowing together, the weird flappy things that are our vocal cords. Because if you're, I know, vocal cords are weird, but if you're forcing your voice and putting a lot of strain on it, you can develop over time what are called vocal nodes. And nobody wants that, because that you might need surgery, things like that. I have a friend who got vocal nodes, and it's not a good time. That is like a month of vocal rest or surgery if it's really
I've
bad.
learned anything from Pitch
Ugh.
Perfect is you don't want vocal notes.
I was
Yep.
also thinking Pitch Perfect. I'm
I was
not
like,
gonna
Pitch
lie.
Perfect
I'm not
actually
gonna
has a
lie.
lot of information in it, weirdly enough. It's also really fun, and I love those movies.
It's really fun. Yeah,
They're fun.
absolutely.
Again, we had a question from Juanca. Is it too late to learn voice acting? That's something I always ask myself. It is never too late. It is never too late to learn anything new. That is something that I just full stop. It's never too late to learn anything new. If you want to start voice acting classes. If you have a local theater, if there's a local improv group, get involved in that. If you want to start acting, there's scene study classes, character building courses. You want to build a foundation of acting for voiceover, because while we're in a box and we're just talking, which is the perception that a lot of people have, is we're just talking, but we are playing characters. We are playing people. And that is the thing, is remember, you are playing a person. What are their wants? What are their needs? Are their wants different from their needs? Who are they? Why are they saying this? Who are they talking to? Why are they talking to them? It's asking yourself all of those questions, like, okay, this is where I am. Why am I here? How did I get here? It's learning to ask yourself all of those things. And that actually helps a lot in D&D character building as well, is asking yourself all of those questions. Because even in D&D, it can get very goofy and very silly, because at the end of the day, we're playing a game. My favorite game in the world. But we are still playing people. Like, Nico was very boisterous and fun and silly, but she had like a lot of sadness in her, and she had a lot of confusions. Like, where did that come from? Why did that come out? Blah, 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 blah. So in voiceover, it's the same thing, or in acting, it's the same thing, is asking yourself those questions. So a good way to get started is acting classes. There are voiceover specific classes online from a lot of great teachers. I trained primarily with Kathy Westlock, who's like Spike in My Little Pony, Nier in Death Note. She was in, I think she was Kagome's mom in the original Inuyasha dub. Kathy's been around. She was, it's not Cyber, is it Cyber 6? I don't freaking know. I don't know. She's great. She's awesome. Wonderful woman. She's a Vancouverite. I trained with her and Richard Horvitz, who, you know, Rasputin in Psychonauts. He was Zim in Invader Zim. And a resume so long, I would be dead by the time I finished it. But they're both really, really wonderful teachers. So looking for different acting teachers. I'm not sure where you're at, so I'm like, online is kind of where I can give you recommendations. But build yourself a foundation of acting and go from there. And if you, something that a lot of newer voice actors I find struggle with is something I always hear is, I hate the sound of my voice, or I don't like this part of my voice. I don't like how I sound too nasally. A great way to, we all have these fun little devices. You might have heard of them. They're called iPhones. I don't know. You might have. I don't know. It's crazy. They're new, I think. You have apps to record yourself on, whether it's on your phone or your iPad, your computer. Record yourself. Just start reading out loud. And that's another thing. Get used, if you want to step into voiceover specifically, get used to reading out loud and reading cold. Cold reading is hard, especially for those of us who have at least mild dyslexia.
I was that obnoxious kid in class that was like, we get to read in class? I get to read live? Yeah.
I like to do that. I would just trip over words constantly.
It's the enjoyment that matters. At least in that context.
Yeah. So get used to reading cold, reading out loud. Pick up like anything on your desk. I might have you guys do this if you have a book on your desk. Just like pick something up and just read it out loud. So I just grabbed like my Trials of Apollo book because I'm obsessed.
Packed all my books up.
Right?
I have spell cards.
Read it. You just read out loud randomly and just record yourself doing it. Like you don't have to do it right this second, but heckin' get used to just reading anything out loud. Something that Victoria, one of my teachers, taught me was she had me play a bunch of different characters, just improv it, just 1, 2, 3, go, using the same script. And it wasn't even a script. It was an ad for something in like the Cowichan Valley voice. She just brought it with and she just handed it to me. She's like, I want you to read this section. You're going to become so familiar with this section. I don't care about that. What I want you right now, do it as a sloth.
What?
You are a sloth. Oh yeah.
Nice.
It's like you are a sloth.
it.
And here
That's awesome.
it's like, okay, you're gonna be a Weather Channel girl and everything's gonna be right here. Or it's like, you're gonna be a little boy. It's like, okay, so it's just once upon a time, blah blah blah. Like there and she just had me do the same section as a bunch of different characters. And that's the beauty of acting, is you can say anything as a different character. So that's something to that cold reading and just learning to read out loud and just pick up a script and just go is that is an invaluable skill. So for you wonderful people and those at home, practice that. Just practice getting used to your voice, understanding your voice, where it sits, because when you understand your voice, this can actually lead into the next question that we have. When you understand your voice, you can understand what kind of characters you'd be good for. For me, I've started playing a lot more, wonderfully, because I am non-binary, a lot more androgynous characters. Or I've been playing a lot more like tomboy type characters. And when I can hit my higher register,
I play a lot cuter characters, or people are just very quiet and very still.
Or I play a lot of little boys because I can get down into that register because I understand the workings of my voice. So how do you find places to audition for voiceover work as a beginner? What would you need to prepare for your first audition? That is a very, very good question. So back in my day, there was this thing called the Voice Acting Alliance. It no longer exists. It was definitely a time in the young voiceover community. But so we no longer have the Voice Acting Alliance, and in a lot of ways it's probably for the best. That is how I met a lot of people. That is how I met my husband, weirdly enough. But there is a place called Casting Call Club, where there's a lot of auditions for comic dubs. Comic dubs are actually a great way to start dipping your toe into voiceover. I still do them for fun. I work with Merryweather Comics as well. They're wonderful. So there's a lot of, Casting Call Club, that is exactly it right there. They have a lot of stuff there. Sometimes you'll find like auditions for original games there too. So that's a really good base to find it. It's hard to say like places to look as a beginner now, because I've honestly stepped out of that space. So also sometimes Twitter has casting calls. If you look up it's like the voiceover hashtag or voice acting hashtag or hashtag like voice acting auditions, search Twitter sometimes, because you'll find little nuggets of gold. I found a project on there that I was like, oh, well, that's neat, and wound up booking that because I found it on Twitter.
There's a lot on TikTok. I find a lot of people that are like doing scripted podcasts or things like that are looking for like, hey, who want, you know, they're not paid, but they're usually like a good thing to try it out.
Yeah, we have baby cat.
I'm sorry, I'm just losing it because that cat is cuddling and so cute. Oh baby.
Is Apollo Oliver. He's a little snuggle butt. Hi, baby cat. I know. he's a parent's boy. Bye, baby. We have Kylo behind the monitor, being a little lurky butt because he likes the window. So yeah, casting calls are like Casting Call Club, TikTok, I guess. And the thing is, when you're starting out, don't worry about if it's like a free thing and it's something you're just like, I want to see if this career is something that I even want to do, or if I want to do it just for fun. Because that's the thing, is you don't have to make this your whole career. You don't have to make this your whole life. Some of us decide to. And you can make it just a hobby. Voiceover can be just a hobby if you want it to be, and that's okay. And that's something that I think needs to be driven home a little bit more, is if you're into voiceover, you don't have to get into every single facet of it. You don't have to get into commercial. You don't have to get into narration if you don't want to. It's okay to just dabble. And if you want to throw yourself in full force, go ham. There's some wonderful resources. And if you're looking for classes and you're in the voiceover area, I think not the voice, word money. I speak word money. If you're in the Vancouver area, and I think they're actually doing classes online still, is On the Mic. I think it's On the Mic training. I went through them for like 7 or 8 classes of different kinds. It was like their level 1 animation, level 2 animation, narration, voiceover for video games, dubbing classes, all sorts of things. So it's On the Mic training. I'll grab a link. Yeah, I think that's the best I can answer for where to find auditions. Outside of like, outside of like the agency space, or for those of us who are just like in with studios. Yeah, that's them there. They're great. I highly recommend them. A friend of mine, Allison, is going through like another round of training with them, and she's doing great. Again, is there a huge difference between game voice acting versus TV, film? Yes, versus audiobooks. Audiobooks are an entirely different beast from like video games. I've had the pleasure of recording a couple video games over the last couple months, which has been yay, very excited. I'm gonna hydrate with my coffee because I'm a professional. So video game voiceover is all what I refer to as prelay most of the time. Sometimes for anime video games, if there's like anime cutscenes, things like that, or if there were cuts, whether it's like anime or it's something from another country, they'll have cutscenes for you to dub. But for the games that I've worked on, they've all been prelay. So that means you record all your lines before, and then they are plugged into the game. That's the way we did Honey Pop as well, is I just recorded everything. And they'll sometimes tell you, so let's say it's like you have a fight scene, or you're like, there's, think like Fire Emblem, not in Fire Emblem, just gonna nip that in the bud right there. Think like Fire Emblem, how they have like their attack calls, it's like, yeah, or ha, and then there's like, take this, take that, blah, blah, blah. Spellcasty words, or I'm coming at you, things like that. They have like their little call outs, and sometimes in the script they'll tell you on the side of the document like how long it'll be. So if it's like quick jump, it'll be like 0.3 seconds or something like that, so you know how long that effort or attack call should be. Or if it's like, this is their special move, so you have like 2 to 3 seconds to do this. So video game voiceover, it's all all prelay. I don't have any experience in like mocap voiceover and mocap acting. That is something that's a big reason that I came out here outside of, marriage. But mocap acting is like very reminiscent of like stage, except there's like a lot more bells and whistles. Yeah, Amy.
So what is mocap acting in voiceover context?
So motion capture acting, think like have you ever seen behind the scenes of like The Last of Us or anything like that, or Resident Evil? They're in like the black suits with all the balls and like the dots on their face, all the tracking stuff. So that is motion capture acting. You are on what's called a mocap stage, and they're filming from different angles, and you have all the tracking, so then they can put that into a rig on the computer and build the character skeleton out of that and build it off of your performance. So it's closer to like theater or TV and film. And sometimes there's also VO capture or VO capture for short, not that much shorter, which they will often do for like motion capture games. So think like if you're doing like zombies in like The Last of Us or something, they'll like capture like your head and your movements and stuff like that while you're in the booth instead of versus being on like a capture stage. In terms of difference between game acting and Tillman Phoebe.
Correct.
I got there. Yep. Can you tell I haven't finished my coffee? No, this is me constantly. This is me in the booth, and it's unfortunate. Film and TV, I don't have a whole lot of experience doing like any like TV acting. I took courses in it, and I didn't like it. It wasn't really for me. Theater is probably the best I can give you. Theater made me a very physical actor, but another thing with theater is you have to remember your blocking, you have to be memorized, like totally off book. There's a lot more going on in that sense. In voiceover, you don't have to have it memorized, but if you are coming in for something that I highly recommend, if you're coming in for pre-lay animation, so you're coming in for like a cartoon or a video game and you get your script beforehand, review the hell out of your script, because that's where you're going to do your work as an actor before getting in the booth. That is where you're going to be like, okay, this is what's going on, and read your read all the incidentals. It's so and so. Hi baby. I'm sure you can hear them. Why you yell? Why are you screaming? What? That's what I thought. Conversations with Cat with Hayden Daviau. Heckin' reading all the in-betweens. So and so looked at so and so this way, or they got up suddenly and stormed out. It's like, okay, that's kind of where they're at emotionally, because that can give you a lot of clues. And also sometimes in those descriptions they'll put like efforts. It's like Becky sighed and walked out of the room, so that gives you a clue as an actor. It's like, okay, they want me to sigh here, or they want you to make eating sounds here, things like that. And when you're just learning that kind of stuff, it's kind of hard, especially coming from a dubbing background, where it's like, oh, I need to make eating sounds because my anime girl is going, how nom, 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 nom. I have to make my anime eating sounds. And child, what are you doing? You're being a menace.
How about
Sorry.
eating sounds?
Ooh,
They can provide.
There you go.
I have friends who have actually put their cats in anime. Like they bring their cats into my friend Lenti, they've brought their cat into the booth because their cat Moxie is very loud. And they're like, well, pay rent, child. And they have held them up to the mic and they've been like, wow, wow, wow. And it's just, that is in anime. They have, I'm pretty sure they have like a wiki page at this point, and it's really funny.
Beautiful.
All the cats that they are.
I know.
Exactly.
And audiobooks, to finish off this question, are an entirely different beast. That goes into all the cold reading I was talking about before. I try to, whenever I do audiobooks, if I have time, I try to read ahead at least a couple chapters, just to be like, okay, this is what's going on. This is what it's going to ask of me for today. But a lot of it is cold reading and stumbling over your words and stopping and starting again. And in my experience, I've only ever done audiobooks through ACX and Audible, where I am recording it and editing it all myself, and I never want to do it again. I hate editing audiobooks. I'm so done. Next time I do an audiobook, it better be something I've booked and someone else is going to edit that, because I don't want to anymore.
Now, how do you, so on Audible, do you like put yourself forward for it, or like?
So you sign up on ACX. So this is great if you're interested in doing audiobooks, which they're a good time. But if you're interested in doing audiobooks, you sign up on ACX and you put in all of your information, all your tax information, all your specs, your studio specs, those two. And you just look under the auditions tab and you just start auditioning, and you just put yourself forward, and then you can send a little message. I think my favorite one that I've ever done is the Solo Girls Travel Guide to Thailand, or something along those lines, which is the best audiobook experience I've ever had. But in it, I like, in my message to the author when I was auditioning, which with ACX I think is important to put forward, I was like, hey, this book looks really awesome. I loved just the audition sides. I actually traveled Thailand with my family when I was really little, and it left a huge impact on me. And I love travel now as an adult, and someone who's femme presenting a lot of the time, or is biologically female. Traveling can sometimes be nerve-wracking. So I'm really excited to see books like this, and that's, the cliff notes of what I said. And she and I wound up working together. And she liked that I could read Thai kind of and not sound terrible, and that I was traveled, because those two things would give the sound that she was looking for.
Right.
But yeah, audiobooks are a lot of work, and they're very different from like especially TV and film. But narration is rewarding in and of itself. It's just editing it, as someone who's not an engineer and someone who's ADD as hell, can't do it. And when you're trying to edit an audiobook and you have a new puppy, don't recommend. Cannot recommend it.
That's very fair.
More towards like the D&D side of things, Hayden, do you have any tips or tricks for like specific accents, like a sound or two that give the sense of it that people can try and practice? Or
I'm not amazing at accents, but I will do my best. So I can fall into a British accent very, very quickly, but this is because I watched way too much Black Butler, and I watched way too much BBC. I watched I spent a lot of time watching Doctor Who, and mimicry. Something that Alejandro actually taught me, my husband, he taught me, go for the vowel sounds, learn the vowels of that accent. So if I'm going to fall into Lysithian, something that's like it's all sort of in the middle. Everything with Lysithian is in the middle, and it relies on their tongue. So it's everything in that accent, it is very forward in the mouth.
It really sounds like you're kind of rolling or vibrating your tongue at the front.
Yes, it's all like behind my teeth, pretty much. And if you want to make it cuter, it just becomes Jester. It was me. Go ahead.
I was practicing Swiss recently, and it's that one's fun because all the vowels they're like right up at the front. It's like this weird mix of German and French, and so we say is very good to see you. Like it's all kind of like up near the front of it, and it's a lot of fun. But again, you're totally right of like, where are the vowels in your mouth? And like people make fun of Canadians for saying sorry because it's
like,
here
I'm
instead
sorry
of
that I use my
sorry.
bowels.
Exactly. I'm sorry that I actually speak my vowels. I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyway.
Beautiful.
Heckin', I'm trying to learn Scottish, and I'd like to die.
Yeah, it's like you gotta like break your jaw at the back to be able to drop everything back here. Yeah,
I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't do it. Yay, me.
So, sort of following up from Christine's, so if it's not necessarily an accent, but like, do you have any suggestions for making a specific character's voice more distinct from other ones, or like certain features that you would focus on? Like,
How do you not fall back into another character's voice?
that too. How do you?
Yes.
I fall into Win constantly now.
And like how you get into each of the different voices so that you're not doing the same one all the time, I guess.
Yeah. Something that I know, something that helps is having sort of a like a trigger line or a trigger word. So if I was going to do Lysithian, it's like idiots, something like this, and just breathing into where they are. And oftentimes when they're speaking, they're sort of done with everybody. So it's just kind of like, okay, all right. Am I exasperated enough? Yes. That's what's something that they say constantly. Like for Win, it's like, hi, I'm Win, me, baby.
I mean, you can call me Win.
Yeah, so
That's my
having
line. You can call me Win.
Yeah, so it's having sort of a trigger line to get you into that character. So whatever it would be for Callie or Win.
I can't do Callie anymore. I start out with Callie and I start drawling it at the end. It goes into Win's voice. I can't do Callie. It's awful.
So
I find that with Isaac too, is like I can start here because it's all in the breath, but then as soon as I start getting relaxed, I have to I force my voice down, and then it's weird. Then I have to go, breathe, god damn it.
Breathe with your face.
The whole thing
lungs.
it needs to breathe in here.
Yeah. And that's just something to be conscious of. I was doing a session a couple days ago where everything they were saying was very big, but they want it to be more masculine. So like, we don't want anything to hit your head voice. So keep it all in your chest and your belly. And it's one of those things is being aware when you're speaking in character of where you're placing it. So I have a character where everything she says is very much right here. And it's something that I can just fall into very quickly. And she just is all my chest voice. And so making a character distinct and keeping the voices different, it's thinking about who they are as people. Where do they sit in their body? Because that's another part of like just character building in general is where do they sit in their body? Like for Lysithian, everything was just kind of like shoulders back, but like relaxed, but they had sort of like a stick up their butt studiousness to them. So it's like, what's the physicality of this character? And that can help as well as finding that also helps to find the voice. So like for Lysithian, they're often shoulders back. For Nico, it's just very like, they kind of roll their shoulders forward and just kind of chill. The characters I play over on Nat 19 for our Saturdays, I often find myself sitting like this because she has sort of a standoffish nature to her. For Aviana, she's like very much right here. I'm done with you. I don't want you to stay away. That is the energy is stay away from me.
I have another character who's just, I kind of do this a lot. She's very small, it's 4'11", and a little tiefling who has 5 intelligence. And this is kind of her thing where she's just like, hi, hello, what's up?
It's hard to keep it out of your body for sure.
Yeah, so finding where they sit in your body can help you find the voice as well. I found when I was doing like Goblin Slayer, I was doing this. I didn't mean to, I was doing this a lot. I was like, what is this? It's like, oh, I'm holding my staff. That's what I'm doing.
Oh yeah, Isaac ends up like this a lot. I always end up with a hand on my hip. Ida ends up like this. I'm always leaning forward. Okay. Sabina's always holding her ponytail. Yeah, it's hard to keep it out of your body.
Yeah, and finding a way to just keep it in your body, that helps find those character voices. Because if I'm doing like Rena or something like that, I'm often doing this. I'm playing with my fingers.
Because she's very nervous and she doesn't know how to emote. So everything's right here. So I'm often doing this.
So, and making the voices distinct is, if you're just using, because you don't need to have a crazy character voice for all of your characters. It's thinking about their speech patterns more than anything. For some characters, they might be trying to find their words all the time. Everything they say is like kind of, you can tell they're thinking it through because they're not quite sure. And that can come through as they're not sure of themselves, or they might be new to the language or something like that. Or are they going to be are they going to be heard? So they talk with a little bit more tentativeness. And someone who's like, so like very self-assured, like for Lysithian, everything they said, and sometimes they were trying to find the words, and a lot of that was me trying to find the accent in the beginning. But trying to find the words, but they were always very direct, and very to the point. And so a lot of people might, people who are self-assured will put more of a button on what they're saying, if that makes sense. Like they won't trail off at the end of a sentence. They'll be very direct and to a point. So that also helps, is thinking about what are their speech patterns. If they're a little bit sexier, they're going to kind of breathe through things a little bit more and have just a little bit more, something more suave about them.
A little more seductive.
Whenever more seductive. When I play seductive characters, I don't know why I do this. Yeah. I have fish hand, and I don't know why.
You're trying to smooth out the sound.
I'm smoothing out the sound, and I don't know.
Yes.
You've got it. It's because you got a wine glass. You got a wine glass.
It really is. It's the hello, welcome.
Yes, you gotta have the glass there.
I've done this, like hello.
Or imagine you're petting a cat.
This kind of ties into Traz's questions about tips about bringing more variety of emotion to your voice when your nerves get in the way, or if maybe you're not a terribly emotive person. Like, how would you recommend finding those emotions?
It's thinking about so I never don't have nerves before anything. I've been doing this for almost a decade. I walked into a booth I hadn't been in like a studio in like 3 years because of pandemic. I walked into a studio, and the moment I stood behind that mic, my legs were shaking, my hands were shaking. And like, I get nerves to this day every time I go into that booth, every time I hop on to play a stream, instantly nervous. So something that can help is take some deep breaths. Take 3 deep breaths to help with the nerves first. It's just a in your nose, out your mouth. And that when you slow your breathing, that helps mitigate the fight or flight response that our bodies have. So if your heart's beating really fast, your body's in, oh my God, a bear's chasing me. I need the adrenaline. And that's where we get the adrenaline crashes. So like if you have like anxiety or something like that, I have terrible anxiety into perpetuity. I'll never not have it. That's part of life. But taking those deep breaths can help you kind of relax your body. And in terms of finding the emotion, it's getting to know your character. It's what makes them nervous, what excites them, what pisses them off, what are their likes and dislikes, and just having that as sort of like just little background knowledge. Like I have a friend who has a character, like it's a backstory reason. It's like he loves fresh out of the oven hot bread, and if that is there, he's about it. He's excited. It's just like a little thing. So it's understanding. It's just asking yourself those questions of what are things that they like and don't like, and if you don't tend to show your emotions a lot, let that be part of your character. Or let them be a little bit more quiet. And if you want them to be a little bit more boisterous, something I'd recommend is practice on your own time. Practice outside of game. And it's made fun of a lot. And it's sort of something's like, oh, you practiced in the mirror. It's like, yes, I did. I have practiced an evil laugh in the mirror or in the shower. The amount of times that I have evil laughed in the shower and not worried about it, because I'm like, I'm practicing and the shower's great and it's warm and my vocal cords are warm. Fight me. But it's practicing on your own time is something that you can, it's like, oh, this sort of thing would make them smile. Or, but letting yourself be true to your character as well. Because if you're not terribly emotive or if you're a little bit more quiet, there's a charm in that. There's so much charm in that. So let that be part of your character's charm. Go ahead, Amy.
So, yeah, just like on that note, my brother is a classically trained singer, but he's not a very expressive person or an overly emotive individual, and that is something he's constantly been working on. And so he very much has to, whenever he thinks he's being emotive and like being expressive in his voice and his facial expressions, because there's a lot of facial expression that goes into stage like singing performances. Mm-hmm. He has to dial it up even further than he thinks, because it's the more he has to at least double it for it to hit sort of the points for the performance. It's always more than he thinks. And I just thought that always stuck with me when I heard that as something to keep in mind, that if it's like over exaggerating some facial expressions if you have to, just to get to those feelings and like convey it clearly, if that helps at all.
And that's a big thing in theater, is playing to the back of the room, right? Is you want, like, if I'm on stream and like this is probably me happy, but you'll see me sometimes and I talk like this, and I talk really excitedly because that's how I've been trained to act, is if I'm acting and I'm a little over the top. If you haven't noticed.
What?
No
You over the top.
I'm not a theater kid, but I spent a lot of time with theater kids, and it's contagious.
Yeah, it's hard to not go a little overboard sometimes, but yeah, just making whatever you think is you, like, look at yourself when you have an emotion and then explode it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And sorry, just side bit here. Looking in the mirror is good because it helps your brain recognize what your face is supposed to be doing too.
Yes.
Like, mirror neurons are a thing, or even looking at somebody who is making those expressions and mimicking them, like, that can also help your brain figure itself out.
Well, and if you're playing also via like a stream, you can be watching yourself as you do it.
Yes, I'm
too,
always
and
looking
kind
at
of be
myself.
like, oh, I look a little bland. I'm not wanting that, or I'm wanting more serious. So, okay, my eyebrows need to stop moving. Sort of thing, right?
Is a contortionist. And I sometimes I'll see a stream and I'll be like, oh no.
Like, what are you doing?
Oh, yeah.
What is my mouth doing?
I have resting, like, sad people face. So a lot of the time people are like, did you have fun tonight? Like, are you good? It's like, I had a great time. Like, but when I'm really relaxed and having a good time, my face is just like, I look really sad, or just, it's unfortunate. And a lot of people are like, are you good? It's like, I'm having so much fun. Why? It's like, you looked really upset. It's like, no, that's unfortunate.
Times I get, are you okay in daily life?
Me too.
Yeah.
Well, like, that's the thing, is like, I take really bad pictures when other people take them.
Oh,
because I don't know what the fuck my face is doing.
Mm-hmm.
No,
I can't
need full
see
control.
that angle is bad, or that my eye's doing something weird. Like,
Yeah.
if I can see
Danger.
myself, I can get it like really good.
Yeah.
But if I
Yeah.
can't see myself, like,
that's why I hate my picture being taken.
it's really, really hard.
I used to do makeup for photo shoots a ton, and I did it because I was doing it as, like, free stuff for photos, right? I worked with a lot of new photographers and new models who both didn't know what they were doing. And so the photographer would find a good angle for lighting, but then the model looked awful. And so I kind of ended up in this position of like, okay, no, tilt lip up just a little bit. Okay, think about this. And it totally fixed it, but it was like, no one was communicating in that.
Oh, you
So
have to go around behind the photographer with a mirror.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Here's what you look like.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's gonna, Yeah. Or like have conversations with people and say like, okay, what did I look like there? Like, oh, well, you looked like you were sad. Oh, okay, interesting, because I wasn't.
Also, if you look at yourself in the mirror, you know what it feels like when you're expressing and emoting adequately, I suppose, to convey what you're trying to convey.
Well, I mean, that's one thing I found that could be quite fun, because I did choir. And in choir, for the most part, you're not supposed to do anything. You're not supposed to be moving unless you're like in a gospel choir. You're supposed to be standing still, and you are just, all of the work is coming from your voice. What can be kind of fun is when you're singing or anything like that, especially if you've got the house to yourself and you have a mirror on the wall. Start playing with adding emotion to the song that's relevant to the song. So like sing a sad like folk song or something. Sing Danny Boy or something and throw the emotion in and start emoting it in the mirror so you can see what you're doing.
Go to show tunes, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. Show tunes. I listen to
Disney.
so much musical theater.
I got sassy down pat by singing along to like Hercules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I can sing that one with all of the ups and downs.
You're like,
I've been doing that since I was 10.
Amazing.
I want to touch on Bongmaster's questions. Like, is it hard to maintain a character's inflections? I don't find as much. I want to throw this question to you guys too. It's like, what's your experience with finding a character's inflections and like maintaining them? Something that I find helps is, what would they be doing physically when they're feeling certain things? Like, I have a character who's like covered in feathers, so one of her things is when she's nervous or like contemplative, she's always playing with like the feathers on her arms and stuff like that. She's all like preening to like kind of calm herself, or like rubbing like the feathers on her neck, things like that. It's like, that's something. And I will say that it's like Aviana fucking starts playing with her feathers and just kind of like looking down. It's like, okay, what would they do when they get excited? So like Nico, when they're excited, they do this, and I don't know why, but it's like, oh my god, that's cool. It's like, it's the cute wiggle is what I call it. It's the wiggle.
Well, I like what Claudette was kind of shyly mischievous. She'd kind of look down and poke the fingers together and kind of rock. It's like she was rocking on her heels. Sort of thing, especially when she was being mischievous to her parents. Well, I mean, I could do that. Or I could do this.
It's like the little head tilts, and it's like understanding them physically helps keep those like inflections. So like Lysithian, if they were like feeling any, like they're just, if they were angry, they'd get even more rigid. Like, all right, whatever you want to do. And they'd get very quiet. It's like, okay, fine. They didn't yell a lot. It was very just that studious feeling. So what about Caitlin or Amy or I almost called you Seggy because your name is spelled like my friend Seggy on Zoom. So I was like, your name is Krista, but my brain is reading what's there.
I'll fix that. I forgot it was that.
That's cool.
You're fine.
There we go. I'll help you out.
In terms of like my characters, I honestly, because I'm not in that character and playing it right now, it's just all falling out of my head. It's just it's dribbling out my ears. Can't pull it up.
That's fair.
My Victorian era mage character has gloves and a fan that she will use, and I will often be playing with that fan when she's talking, and sometimes she'll use it like when she's like, if she's enunciating something, she'll like be kind of like directing with it and like pointing towards people, and she speaks in a little more of like, I always have to remind myself that she thinks over her words a tiny bit more most of the time. At least she's supposed to. I don't know if it actually comes across that way.
Nice. I'm a very fidgety person in general, so like right now I'm just playing with my blanket tassels as we're talking, just like chilling. So usually I will incorporate that into a character. So like with Luthien, she's got her little pocket handkerchief that I just can keep around and just kind of like fiddle with it and just kind of I don't think I'm very good at keeping an inflection with a character though, so I think voice work is something that I do really, really have to work on.
I think
It's
you
kinda
did really
something
well
I
with
still
Talfrin,
struggle
though.
with. Thank you.
Like,
Yeah,
that was
I
really
tried
distinct.
Mhm.
Tried really hard for him.
And I think
Uh,
Jilly Bean is pretty distinct.
Oh gosh, she's
too,
so annoying. Oh, that's right. I always forget about Jilly. Why do I always forget about Jilly?
because she annoys
I
you.
think because she annoys me, but she is, although she annoys the bejesus out of me, and she's supposed to. She is actually one of the ones that I fall into probably the easiest. For her.
It's like, oh yeah, this thing I hate doing. Let's do it.
I know. I was like, yeah, I hate being the like ganky like kind of girl. Like, oh my god, let's do this thing. Like, let's go. Let's, oh my god, we got to get in the car. I don't want to drive. You drive. Like, pushing everything onto someone else kind of thing. But anyway. But that's like a very bouncy, like I'm forever constantly moving with her. So I guess I don't have that fidgetiness with her, but I'm forever literally.
The energy goes somewhere else in your body.
It does.
Looks exhausting to play.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So to say that.
The beginning, I think it was last game, I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, man. I don't know if I can play Jilly today. Yeah.
I think until Hayden pointed it out, I hadn't really noticed the different body actions I do for various characters. Because, like, Claudette was very much like this. Callie was kind of hands on hips going, what is
there
going
was so
on?
much sass.
Yeah.
Whereas Wynn is just, like, bombastically, like, arms waving. Like, I'm actually physically acting half the time as Wynn.
Yes.
There's so much, and I love it.
Exactly. I find so there are certain characters I find it very easy to find. Like Isaac is very much the way that he is. He's Isaac and he's happy, like he's very full of himself, and it's pretty easy to find that. Because I kind of built his character around that voice. Like I wanted to play this very bombastic, full of himself kind of character. I found that voice and I went with it. Sabina, I have a very hard time remembering she even has an accent. One, I don't speak as her very often. I speak out of character, like this is what Sabina does, because she doesn't talk a lot. But I found this voice that I was really happy with, like her, and my intro line into finding her voice is hi, I'm Sabina Morden, because her O's are very different. So when she says she has a moorbounder and her name is Sabina Morden and she talks like this and it's very quiet, in this kind of, I don't want to give away her backstory, but if I had this idea of like who she was and why she sounded like this, and I built this voice up for her, but then in play she became a very different character, and so trying to blend those two together make it very hard for me to find her voice whenever I talk in character. I instinctually talk as someone else and then go, shit, that's not what she sounds like. I got to get back into that. So I think, like everyone's saying, like finding that physicality, finding the voice within the character is going to help you keep that going.
Yeah. And honestly, having like a certain stances is something that I learned from my friend Terry. Having a certain stance can help you just find it and find that and just pop you into character. So like I had a character who everything they said was this, and the acting gift, this was what I was doing the entire session. It was all this, it was all in the arms and this sort of thing. Everything is a performance, or blah 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 blah. So everything's very big. So if I ever want to say anything as them, which I can't wait to talk about them, everything was I just do this and it puts me right there. It's I'm holding my script, or I'm holding like Shakespeare's skull sort of thing. So yeah, no, finding that physicality in the stances can help you get back into those inflections as well. And we have from Hwaunka. If you land a role, how do you find the voice for a specific character? So oftentimes you find the voice during the audition process. So when I read for Little Miss, I played her a lot more. I'd actually just been introduced to VTubers by my friend Erin, and I was getting into that sort of thing.
So she was just a lot more like this. There was still sort of a whispery, and things like that.
And then when we got into the show, it's like, hey, she's a lot more muted. She doesn't show a lot of emotion unless she has like a little board in front of her face. So we want everything to be monotone.
So everything she says is kind of right here. It's still really cute, but it's
and hi cat butt. So I automatically do this because doing this helps me remind myself to be monotone. So that's kind of, it's you find the voice beforehand, and a trick that I have. So let's say like I have like a character. I look at, if the image of them is on like the audition sides, I will I'll look at what they look like. It's like, okay, well, they're this cute little girl, and
they kind of look like they'd sound something kind of like this. Okay, so then I'm gonna cold read all the lines and do it that way, and then I like to cold read my lines first, and then find within them the context. And then once I think I have, it's like, okay, this seems kind of like what they want or what they need or what their kind of goal is throughout this script. And then I'll go into the character bio if it's provided. Sometimes it's not, if it's provided, and then I'll get even more context from that and then build the character from there. But I usually go, if I'm trying to find a character voice, I'll look at what the character looks like. What do they look like they would sound like? So if they're a little boy, they might, how young are they? Are they really little? Because if they're
young, they have smaller equipment.
Your mouth is going to be a lot. So if I'm a really little girl, I do this with my mouth, so I'm a lot younger. Or if they're like
a smaller character. So if you're playing like a gnome or something like that, and you want them to sound small, shrink your equipment. Because that will give the feeling of being smaller or younger. That's kind of my general process for finding character voice. And to expand on that, in a D&D context, where you have improv and you don't have direction, how do you find the character voice? Think about who they are, where they come from, what their background is. My best example is my Saturday character. She is very much a loner. She is she's defensive. She doesn't like to let people in. Internally, there's so much of, I feel like a scared child a lot of the time. It's like, okay, who would that sound like? Abandonment, all that things. Everything's a lot quieter. Not a whole lot of, it takes a lot to make her, like, she's angry a lot of the time. Everything is, leave me alone. Go away. I don't want to have anything to do with you. So it's thinking about finding the character voice. Does this voice represent them as a person? So for like Nico, I went ever so slightly higher in my voice, but when they were talking about emotional things, they would drop down, because nothing but a front. Is the happiness masks a lot, because it's easier to deal with things if you put up a wall or a mask of some kind. So I'm happy-go-lucky, but am I really? What drives them? So I think it's thinking about who this character is, and if the voice you're planning to do represents them. Do they have any quirks? Or is their voice their actual voice? Things like that.
You were saying like recording yourself might be, if you record yourself saying things, play it back, does it sound like you're talking to that character?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's another really good way to do it, honestly. Also, recording yourself in character voice for like D&D characters is really fun.
Yeah. Do you want a couple quick rapid fires?
Yeah, we can do some rapid fires because we got 5 minutes.
Awesome. Practicing inflection. What is the best way to add inflection if you're a little more monotone traditionally?
Listening to people who, something that I really recommend is listening to people who are really, really expressive, and mimicry is a really good way. Mimicry is how, like, that's how we learn as children. So doing that, listening to someone who has a lot of peaks and valleys in their voice, and seeing where they emphasize certain syllables. to put the emphasis on the right syllable.
Yeah, and just over enunciating.
Over enunciating and overly emphasizing can actually help you find that just in your normal day to day.
Playing voices that are not your gender without making it a caricature.
Think about them as people. So if I'm gonna play a little boy, which I almost did, I almost played a little boy for Witchlight. So okay, they're a little boy. What do they want? What do they like to do? And thinking, so for like, I commend you playing Isaac, because you find that. I think I kind of want to throw this question to you because you're doing it. I usually, because I'm non-binary, I play a lot of females though. So I'm technically playing out of gender a lot of the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But for Isaac, how do you kind of find that? Also, Amy, yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, this might be something for us to talk about in the gender and identity and
as well.
tabletop, because I think that's coming up next.
Yeah, I think that's next for you guys.
Drop that a little bit. Yeah, mine was basically, you know, like it comes from the bravado. It's more less about him being a guy and more about being that like I can do that kind of voices, like in a sort of even in a more like feminine voice, it still goes low, right? And I think women are the most one. Not all girls are gonna talk like this. Like your voice might come up a little bit, but that's about it. Yeah, that would be my suggestion. I think that and then working with if you have a very distinct speech patterns in some way, if you have like a snaggletooth or a bit of a lisp, best ways to overcome that.
Best ways to overcome it, if you want to, like if that's something just in general you want to overcome, speech therapy is an option. I'm like, I don't really have any recommendations for that, but just except if you're gonna play D&D and you want to like perform and do improv or acting, accept it as part of what you bring to the table. This is part of you, because when you're acting, you are bringing your whole self. That's why it's so tiring. You're bringing your whole dang self forward. So that is part of you. And find ways to incorporate that into your characters, into your performances. And if you want to overcome that, look into speech therapy. That's probably my best recommendation.
Awesome. Is that time?
I think it's that time.
Yeah.
So
fun.
Yeah, I hope.
Thank you, Hayden.
Yeah, thank you guys. I hope that was informative.
So
very. Yeah, we got a ton of really good questions, a lot of conversations going on in the chat about it. So
good.
Heck yeah. Where can we find you?
You can find me. You can find me on Twitter at HeyBelleVoice. You can also find me. You can find me over on Spotify because I've started doing a lot more music. I actually put out an original song recently. It's a lullaby that I wrote I worked with a couple other people to write for my Saturday character that I play over on Nat 19, because I had a character who sang in the show or in the stream, and I was like, but what if I'm extra, because that's who I am as a person. And I actually produced the song. So I worked with a music producer and a friend of mine who wrote the lyrics, Michaela Laws. So if you find me over on Spotify, which I'll pull it up.
Great.
I didn't go that hard, but I did learn to play guitar to play a bard and would write parody songs that wrapped up the previous game at the beginning of games.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
adorable. And I love that. I'm actually like, I wish that I could go to Texas and go grab my my guitar so that I could start learning again. Because
one day I'll be allowed to play a bard on Dork Tales, and I'll do it then.
You're allowed right now.
I can now. Now I'm allowed to.
You're allowed to, as long as you use a tambourine.
Oh no, that would be. Are you kidding me? A tambourine on stream?
I didn't say on stream.
I
was giving you crap. All right, let's keep going around in a circle.
You that's where you can find me, primarily over there, and I'm throwing my spoofy in the heckin' chat for y'all.
Yeah.
Caitlin,
there's my spoof. Yeah.
Thanks, Iron Warrior, for the tip.
Hi. Oh,
It was very elite.
Thank you. That's awesome. Very elite of you. I'm Caitlin. I go by Petite Medic on all social medias. So I was a little bit quieter today. I'm really not feeling very well right now. So I keep coughing, and it's awesome. Anyway, so you can find me on Dork Tales or at Petite
Medic. Christine?
Hi, I'm Christine. You can find me as Lady Liliana on Twitch or on most social medias, as well as TikTok, where I'm starting to do things as I feel like it. But yes, otherwise, find me here on Dork Tales.
I'm Krista. You can find me here on Dork Tales or on most social media as ChahistaFX. Amy.
Hi, I'm Amy. You can find me here on Dork Tales, or you can find me on my own Twitch channel at twitch.tv/paradoxicalghoul. And I made my first TikTok last night at the same thing.
Get it?
Do not watch it. Don't do it.
It was actually
Don't.
pretty good. It was good.
But anyway, yes, that's apparently a thing now. Yeah, this has been so much fun. Thanks, Hayden.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Welcome
We'll see y'all
back.
later. Bye, everybody.